25. Internationalen Literaturfestival Berlin. My name is Simone Schröder and I'm the head of program of the ILB, and since tonight's event is in English, let me also say a very warm welcome to the 25th ILB. We are in the company of two remarkable authors tonight. Jokha Alharthi, joining us live from Oman, and Geetanjali Shree, who is currently in Berlin as a guest of the DAAD's residency program. Both have been awarded the prestigious International Booker Prize, one of the most important prizes for literature in translation. Jokha Alharthi writes in Arabic, Geetanjali Shree in Hindi, and thanks to their brilliant translators, their novels have reached readers all over the world. Their works share common ground. Both of their novels depict characters that wrestle with the pull of tradition and the push of modernity in their home countries, Oman and India. The conversation will be hosted by Kaiser. Many of you will know her as a journalist and beloved voice on Die Literaturagenten, her popular radio show on Radio 1 at our media partner RBB. She has moderated countless events, including last year's ILB and Bertelsmann das Blaue Sofa reading with Salman Rushdie. And we are really delighted that she's with us again tonight. And as you can see from the stage design, this evening has a very special partner. We present this event in cooperation with das Blaue Sofa at Bertelsmann. My heartfelt thanks go to Helen Müller and Laura Austen for this wonderful collaboration. Thank you so much. Earlier today, Bertelsmann has also hosted our annual Branchenfrühstück, a lovely gathering of people from across the literary world, which we hope to continue. We also wish to thank our main funder, the Hauptstadt Kulturfonds, as well as our hosts here at Berliner Festspiele. Now, a brief reminder before we begin. As a festival, the ILB is all about being present and experiencing literature live. You won't need your phone for this. Please turn off the sound and keep it in your pocket. Photos, audio and video recordings are not allowed during the event, but you can take pictures at the very event or at the very end of the event or later outside in front of our photo wall in the foyer. And now I wish us all a wonderful evening and an unforgettable encounter with Geetanjali Shree and Jokha Alharthi.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kaiser, and we'll start things off this evening with Geetanjali Shree. She's really a fascinating voice in contemporary Hindi literature. She writes novels, short stories, and plays that explore themes like memory, like identity, like violence too. And in 2022, she made history by becoming the first Hindi author to win the International Booker Prize for her novel Tomb of Sand. Today, we are discussing one of her masterpieces, her second novel, Our City, that year from 1998, a really powerful story in a city shaken by religious violence. And yeah, we're very, very happy that she's on stage with us tonight. Please give a warm welcome to Geetanjali Shree. I think this is your mic. Good evening. Good evening. So There are many riots in our city. Cross the bridge and you'll encounter madmen. It says at the beginning of your book, Our City That Year. It was created against the backdrop of real events in India after fanatical Hindus razed a mosque to the ground in 1992. There were bloody clashes between Hindus and Muslims. What was your intention with this novel? What did you want to capture?
Well, before I answer you, I'm going to express my great happiness at being here at this moment. I have to thank the Berlin Literature Festival and everyone who's made it possible for me to be here, given me this opportunity. And I thank all of you who I cannot see for...
but here.
but here, and know that you are there, for being interested in this conversation. And it's absolutely lovely to be on this blue sofa with you and with Jokha. At some point, I think we'll see her. So it's really, really a great moment for me, and I'm looking forward to this conversation. In response to your question, it's not been an easy book for me to write. I think, allow me to talk a little about it. Normally, I do not have an agenda when I write a book. I actually allow myself to go on an adventure and allow something to trigger the interest in me and get me started on a journey, and I discover things along the way. But in this case, it's one of those rare works where the impulse came from a great disturbance that I felt about what was happening in my society. And the years are the late 80s and the early 90s of the last century. And the book is coming from a society and from a country where pluralism is really just an organic reality. And the book is about two main religious communities in the country, the Hindus and Muslims, but it is a country of many religions, many cultures, which have been coexisting together for centuries. And the interesting thing is that this coexistence is full of a lot of hostility. It's a country of lots of inequalities, a lot of divisions anyway. So there are hostilities, there are all kinds of troubles, but they have been more in the nature of conflicts and troubles or love-hate as within a family. So they belonged to the same place, and they fought for their space, and there was a lot of give and take. So there was a cultural syncretism, which I've known my country to be all about. And whatever happened in the 20th century, we know the history of partition, for instance, very, very traumatic event. I mean, things changed a lot after that. For the first time, there were two nations which were based on the, one was made entirely on the idea of religion dividing a people and making a nation. That itself was a completely new idea. But the other thing which started happening to a culture which my generation, which has grown up after independence, knew very differently, a culture of pluralism, like I said, and syncretism. And the Hindu religion, which is the majority religion, was anyway a religion with just so much openness and tolerance in it that we've grown up not even knowing it in any heavy way. We didn't know many things about the religion. And even the other religions which were considered, Semitic religions, even they had their very syncretic manifestations in this country. So that was a very, very beautiful mixed culture that we grew up in. And what was it that happened in the late 80s and the early 90s when religious fundamentalism began to just spread at the rate at which it did and became so overpowering? And that was extremely disturbing for lots and lots of us. And it was as if everything that we believed in as secularists had suddenly become quite shaky. And what was it that we were doing wrong? Suddenly there was this moment of needing to look at ourselves and see where have we gone wrong, where have we erred. And suddenly everything, we knew religious fundamentalism, but we all believed of it as something which existed that side, the backward side of town, the illiterate side of town, and that is where riots were taking place. That is where people were, doing all these violent things.
In the novel, it's the picture of the bridge. It's on the other side of the bridge.
So it's on the other side. But slowly, what we discovered was that the other side was really, very, very rapidly moving into what we considered our side. And the language was changing, and the language of the intelligentsia was changing, and the language of people like us was changing. And from that anxiety, I think, this book grew. And I think the attempt was to really understand our own confusions, to understand, to face ourselves, to face prejudices that we were carrying without being fully aware of them, and to also come to terms with a reality where what was humor yesterday was turning into an insult today, which was souring relations between communities, certainly, but between individuals. And about the demolition, I would like to say this, that this book is not as such about the demolition. It's really about the larger atmosphere which was making some things like the very disturbing things like the demolition possible. And it's really about that larger atmosphere and the changing mentalities of the people and the tragedies that unfold within that.
And what's so interesting is also the structure of the novel, because the title of this event tonight is I'm Copying Down from the Beginning, and it's a quote from your novel, and it's the voice of the unnamed person narrator that declares that she would simply record the thoughts and doings of the central characters without claiming that she can explain anything or understand anything what is happening. She only manages to capture fragments. So why was writing in fragments the only way to put these events down on paper and this feeling?
I think because whatever was happening was suddenly overturning all the clarities that we had, all the certitudes that we had, and it really became important to not just to be sure about, not just to be cocksure and arrogant about your own position, but to wonder at what it is that's making your position so weak and ineffectual in the eyes of the other. What is it that's propelling the other? And I think that need completely punctured, in a sense, all certitudes, and there was no certain story left to say. So the characters, the main protagonists in this novel are, it's what we'll call the intelligentsia, but they're, the two of them are professors. One is a Hindu and one is a Muslim, and the Muslim is married to a Hindu who's a writer. And there is the landlord in whose house two of them are tenants, who's Daddu. Daddu is like, a fond word for grandpa. And he is he also stands, I mean, he's another one who's not spouting any ideology, but stands very much for that mixed culture and those mixed traditions. I mean, he's a very rich product of that. And he is mocking them all the time, but actually he's the symbol of that India. So what happens to him, you know, him being attacked by the ruffians on the lumpen is really the attack on this secular edifice of the country. It becomes that. So, but these are the characters who are disturbed by everything that's going on, and they want to write about it, but they're completely paralyzed because everything that they knew till yesterday didn't seem to work anymore. Whatever they were saying didn't seem to hold true anymore, because otherwise, why were these completely new fanatics and, you know, the bigoted things happening in the city? So I think that doubt, that paralysis is what, you know, the writer was paralyzed, and therefore the narrator, I mean, at some point, quite organically, the narrator moved in as some kind of a rescuer who could feel the urgency of the situation, who could feel the panic of these people, and could see that they were not really understanding how to make all the connections. And things were happening too fast. It was like, it was like the explosion of a bomb in which everything's got dismembered, and there are, you know, a bit which belongs here, which is floating up there, and a bit which belongs here, which is sticking up there. So it was already, everything was just fragmented and in bits and pieces, in splinters, and it was very difficult in that time to put it all together when you're just surrounded by this kind of storm. So the narrator became, came to the rescue of the paralyzed people, paralyzed writer, by wanting to just not let that moment pass, that moment of complete urgency and panic pass, even if she does not understand. And she's not, unlike most narrators in literature, she's not, omniscient. But she's, in some sense, omnipresent. So she can be anywhere, but what she does is to pick up whatever bits she can hear, whatever bits she can see, whatever bits she makes some kind of sense of, and she keeps copying them down. And she says, all I'm doing is copying in the hope that someday these disconnected bits will add up to some kind of, you know, connected story which will show some direction to the people.
And how did you, as a writer, put these fragments together? How was your writing process?
I did not put them together. I mean, I let them come in their dismembered
yes.
way. So the book is like a collage, where what look like useful things or relevant things are there, but what look like irrelevant things are also there, you know. And I think in the reading, maybe you can try and put some things in some order and make a story out of it, but it's left open really for every single reader to do, and it's in that sense a process and nothing which is admitting of a closure.
Two of the characters in the book, you mentioned them already, Sharat and Hanif, they are historians, and you yourself are also a historian. What role does that play for you when you write novels, this background?
Well, I'll start with your last sentence. I'm a historian. I'm not. Once upon a time, I made the mistake of becoming a student of history. And today, I won't say that it was, you know, in the end, you learn, you know, whatever you decide to do, whatever field you go into. I mean, you learn something or the other there. But I think I was a very bad historian, a very timid historian, a very unadventurous historian who was trying to say very safe things and therefore not doing anything interesting, really sort of dull and flat. And I think as soon as I began, I knew that is something I really must leave. So, yeah.
But now you have two characters that are historians.
Yeah. But here it's important because of the theme, because there's a whole history to religious animosity and religious togetherness. So, and history is telling us a lot of those stories. But what is happening in recent times, in the times that the book is discussing, and subsequently it carries on in even worse ways, is that another history, which is not based on any of this research or serious thinking through, is being created and crafted on the streets. And that history is being believed by so many people, lapped up by so many people, because it seems to be serving some kind of psychological purpose. It's giving them some kind of psychological succor. So, the notion that the Muslim invader was a violent invader, everybody only talks about that. Everybody only remembers that. Nobody remembers that the Muslims first came in the south of India, and they came as traders, and they were completely peace-loving, and they lived a completely different kind of life and integrated with the people in quite a different way. So it's like very selective bits and twisted bits which are becoming very popular, and the historians of the universities can say what they will. The people out there know better, and they'll tell them. So it's so in this book, history and histories became very important. So I think that is why the two of them became historians. And
so we will now hear an excerpt from the book.
Okay.
We will go to that city, and you're going to read for us the English translation by Daisy Rockwell.
Okay, so I'm going to read I've decided to read from the beginning of the book. In a book like this, it's very, very difficult to choose an excerpt, because I think it's not like one of those books where a piece stands completely by itself. And I wouldn't like it to give, if you read a certain kind of thing, then it gives the impression that that's what everything's about. But it's not. In this case, there are lots of other points of views, and there are lots of contradictory things which are also coming into the story. So I worried about choosing a part, but finally I just decided I would read the beginning. And the beginning is where this character Daddu, who I said is really the icon, the edifice of what a lot of us believe India stands for, he has already been attacked. And in his fall, he's been attacked, trying to save or standing up against the Lumpen for... It's not clear whether the Lumpen have come for Hanif, his Muslim tenant, or for Sharad, his Hindu son. But both these characters speak up, and that seems to be the great offense, the great crime. So Daddu, he stands up for them, and he's attacked. And in his fall symbolizes the loss of the fall of this beautiful edifice that we believed in, and the loss of dignity of, again, something that we believed in, and the need, really, the desperate need to somehow put things back together again. So allow me to read just the first few pages. So, this is the place, our city. Into this city, the three of them came forth, panicked, determined to bring everything to the fore, the crime and the criminal, the wounded and the dead, all of it. They would see clearly, and clearly they would reveal whatever they saw. Sharad, Shruti, and Hanif, who had resolved that they would write, that this time they could not remain silent, that everything must be brought out into the open, that the blowing wind was no breeze but a gale, that they could not allow it to uproot them. It's raining. Shruti has stepped off the train and stands on the platform. A vibration, a trembling agitation passes beneath her feet and departs with the train. People run, stumbling, soaked, searching for passengers outside. The city's cows and dogs have ambled in to laze on the flooded platform. The water flows towards the tracks, a wasteland. There was a time that year when such rivers flowed in the streets, but they didn't come from the rains. They came from the neighborhood water tanks that were emptied into the streets for fear they'd been poisoned. Sharad recognizes her from afar and approaches. She stands alone, waiting. They come face to face, their faces bound in an inhibited silence. They exit with measured steps. The three of them understood that everything making us restless and frightened was right there, outside. They faced the same fear that filled me. I too began to panic. They'd try to write, then stop midstream. They'd find their writing hollow and say, all these words have been written before, nothing will be accomplished by recording them. The words have become utterly useless, grown empty like government slogans. It was then that I realized I'd have to do something, somehow or the other. I'd have to write, whether I understood or not. If it couldn't be the three of them, a professional writer and two intellectuals, it would have to be me who knows only how to copy down words. At that time, it was barely possible to string together two words of sense. Nonetheless, I, who had neither the experience to string words nor the tenacity, could write. If you call copying down writing, then that's what I was doing. That's what I could do. I would pick up the fragments that flew up in their wake, whatever caught my eye, wherever. Before my eyes is that house, that gate, that letterbox. The flap of the letterbox hangs open, shivering in the sun, in the rain. Shruti hesitates at the gate. Her sandals are soaking wet, as are her feet up to the ankles. Sharad opens the gate. The front yard is overgrown with wild grasses. Once, a Madhumalti vine had climbed here, and the sight beneath that vine of the row of white teeth and pink gums, his dentures, had sickened me. The pen had slipped from my hand, ink splattering. Later, I'd wonder why I hadn't recalled the pink and white blossoms of the Madhumalti vine when I saw the teeth and gums. Instead, Madhumaltis now always remind me of those gums and those teeth. They nauseate me. Nor do I recall the rest of that face that used to blossom with laughter, that beautiful, hearty laugh. Instead, the face becomes a repulsive shape lying in the dust, its individuality erased, defiling all the beauty of the laughter, wiping out the entire existence of the person to whom it had belonged. Daddu used to say that if you recognize a thing by only a fragment of the whole, then it becomes trapped in its own contour, a useless, lifeless caricature. True recognition bursts forth, spreading and wandering about in the open, enveloped by all things, melting into everything. It is light. If you trap it within a single fragment to purify it, you'll simply extinguish the light. The shape will be rendered lifeless, a repulsive lump of flesh. But I kept picking up the fragments. I didn't have the time, let alone the ability to fill in the middle parts, to search for fitting links. There was no time to act deliberately. Fearfully, quickly, I simply copied it all down. I wrote of here or there, scribbled down unnecessities, pasted the fragments willy-nilly. When life itself had become a collage in which slivers and scraps floated about, sticking hither and thither as in the aftermath of an explosion, forming and deforming shapes, how could we escape the incomplete, the scattered, the broken? Who's ever heard of a cauliflower crop growing in a field of corpses? But listen, there was such a crop in our city that year. Who's ever heard of a crop of fresh, plump, white cauliflowers that can't be sold for even a handful of cowries? But that too happened in our city that year. There were many such things that made no sense at all, and I was incapable of gathering all the bits and pieces to create the true picture. For they were mere scraps, whose proper worth I could not gauge, nor did I have to. I just had to copy. I'm copying down from the beginning. From the beginning, or maybe not, I don't really know, because no one knew where the beginning was. But from the moment, whenever it was, that I jumped up, frightened of their panic, grabbed paper, uncapped pen, and set to work in that dusty, smoky season. Because if you won't, then I will. I'll write it. That is, I'll copy down whatever you say, whatever you see, whatever I can grasp. And if I don't grasp, I'll write anyway. I'll write without comprehension. Because someone had to write about that year and that city. Someone had to bear witness. And who knows, there could be some essence to be distilled from the unhinged language of incomprehension. And who knows, there could be other years after that year. I open my bundle of writing paper, flip quickly through the sheets, then slowly lay them out like rummy cards. But who will become the pairs here and who the sequences? The cards lie scattered, my pen uncapped. No one is listening. They sit quietly, gazing at the rosewood divan from that year. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Geetanjali Shree, for reading to us from your novel, Our City That Year, that was originally published in 1998, so it's 27 years ago. Oh, how has your perspective on the novel and the themes of the novel changed? How do you look at it today?
I'm extremely saddened and extremely alarmed at discovering that the novel is as relevant today, or even more relevant, and the novel is even a little tame compared to some of the things, some of the even more violent and inhuman things that have started happening. Yeah.
There was one point in the book, I had to write it down. Hanif sums up the absurdity of the fighting between Muslims and Hindus, referring to his friendship with Sharat. He says, "This one was already half Muslim. After hanging out with me, the other half went Muslim too. I was half Hindu, the rest of me converted in his company, and I became more Hindu. So which of us is Hindu and which of us is Muslim?" So you really keep highlighting the shared history in your book. And yeah, do you see that as a duty also, as a writer, to remind people of this shared history?
I mean, I don't think of a word like duty in my head, but I think it's just so close to me and so meaningful to me and so much what, and when I say me, I mean lots and lots of us. It's so much what we are about and so much what our life is. These divisions are just so unnatural, and they are, the fuel is provided by certain other interests which are certainly not, about real identity. I mean, real identity is so much more mixed and so much more fluid and so much more with porous borders that it just comes extremely naturally for me and people like me to be distressed at what's happening. Yeah.
At the end of the book, the pen falls to the floor, and the writer, Shruti, she doesn't pick it up herself, but the narrator does it for her. That is a very strong moment in the book, and I was wondering what drives you to pick up your pen again and again and keep writing?
Well, I think when you made your comment just before this, you also spoke of something about reminding everybody. I think it's also to remember and to remind ourselves, and something that we believe in, right? Really so much in our bones that we know it's genuine, and it's to not to forget it and not to let it just slip away. So I think it is very important to pick up the pen, and I mean, however much of despair you feel, you can't let go. You have to keep speaking about it and feeling it. I mean, it's just too real. You don't even have to try; it just happens. It's like breathing. This is how I breathe, and I can't stop breathing. I have to just carry on.
Thank you so much,
But there's one thing I had thought.
Yeah.
I was hoping you would ask me a question which would make me say that.
Okay,
But
so please
you
add
didn't.
it.
Yeah. So I have to say it. I have to, this is just a thought. I mean, it's nothing to do with anything you have said to me, but it's to do with a lot of my experience in the West. So I do want to bring this up. And I want to share with all of you a little something which happened with me many, many years ago, because I think it's quite amusing and endearing, but also very telling and serious. And this was a good, at least 2 decades ago. I'd come on a reading tour to Germany, and I had traveled the length and breadth of this country, and two of my books had come out in German. One was my first novel, Mai, and one was a collection of short stories. And I was doing these readings in different places in Germany. And then in a small town, Kiel.
Kiel.
Yeah. I did a reading. And I think by then I was completely tired, certainly of my voice, which I am very tired of even these days. But I was very tired of reading the same extract again and again. So I decided I would read something different. And I read a story which fitted the time allotted to me. And when I finished the story, somebody in the audience just burst out spontaneously. Said, but there is nothing Indian about that story. You know? Okay. And that was amusing, but I think it's also very telling. Yes. Because it's a certain expectation that the readers in non-India and often the West have from societies or literature from India or the East or different, where they like to see some kind of exotica, certainly, but they also like to see something which they think is different. And while I think that can be fun, you know, I mean, literature always comes with specificities which, you know, of different societies and cultures which we enjoy. But I think there's a trap out there, because literature is holding up mirrors. It's showing you your society, and it's showing you another society, and it's showing you the contrast, but it's also showing you similarities. And the West often doesn't want to look at those similarities.
I wanted to talk about this with Jokha together in the end, because we're going to have a good talk, but you're absolutely right.
Yeah,
because
so for me, that's very, I think it's very crucial that we should remember this, because these are things, in their specificities, they look very Indian, and they look very dire. But I think we have to think about what is actually spilling across the borders and happening in slightly different guises, similarly and as dangerously and as sadly in other parts of the world.
And I think... And
I'm so glad that all of you are with me on this.
And you once even said the city can be everywhere, and it's not just this year. Absolutely. And I think, we're going to talk more about this later on, I promise. Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us tonight. And now is the moment to bring in the second writer of the evening. As the first writer from Oman, she won the Man Booker International Prize for her novel Celestial Bodies in 2019. It was the first novel in Arabic to be awarded the Man Booker International Prize, and it became the first novel by an Omani woman to be translated into English. She is also a professor of classic Arabic literature. Unfortunately, she cannot be in Berlin tonight, but she's joining us live from Oman. Please join me in welcoming Jokha Alharthi.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening, Marie. Good evening, Geetanjali.
So we are seeing your library, this very nice view and a very intimate view into your living room.
Thank you.
So from the city that year, we are going to a village now. We are going to the fictional desert village of al-Awafi in Oman. The Arabic title of your novel literally translates to Woman of the Moon. The German title is also Herrinnen des Mondes. But who are the women of the moon in your novel, Celestial Bodies? They are the three sisters from an upper-class Omani family, Maya, Asma, and Shaula. What do these three women reveal about the different facets of Omani womanhood? I think we have a problem with the internet connection with Jokha Alharthi. Can you hear us, Jokha?
Yes, yes, I do. I can hear you.
Wonderful. So I hope you heard my question. What are these three sisters that we get to know in your novel? What are they telling us about Omani womanhood?
Well, first, I would like to thank ILB Festival for inviting me and Das Blaue Sofa. I would like to thank Simona and you, Marie, and it's always fascinating to listen to Geetanjali Shree. I liked what she said earlier very much. And thank you also for the audience. Yeah, thinking about the women in my novel, I I would like to think back of myself when I was a little girl, and when I was very little, say 10 years old, I used to visit my grandma, and in her house, she was a widow with boys and girls, but in her house, she has this traditional decorated, full of color room that is like a reception room. And in that room, she would receive a lot of people, women or men, who came to her. Some of them came to seek help or advice in life, and some of them came simply to tell their stories. They just want to share their narratives with other people who are there. So people would drink coffee, eating fruits, and talk about their lives. Um, there, I heard a lot of women's stories in particular. And I remember one woman came and asked my grandma, she asked her whether she should stay with her brother after she got divorced or she should stay by herself. And my grandma said to her, if you can use your bare hand to farm the tree, to farm in your farm, in your small farm, and feed yourself, it's better that you support yourself instead of staying in your brother's house with his wife and children. And I remember that very well, and it shaped my thinking of the diversity of women in my society. And I think um, I wanted to transfer all these stories and different perspectives into uh, written forms. I want to see this in written. And for my novel, the three sisters are there, but also their mother and the the former slave and their father's beloved, and so on. Every woman has different aspects in life, I think.
You started writing this book, I read, while you were studying at the University of Edinburgh. To what extent did the cold and rainy weather inspire you to write this very Omani novel?
A lot, I think. um, when I first came to Edinburgh, my childhood was it was so cold and different of my
We really wish you would
Actually,
be
I
here
think
with
if I
us
was in
tonight.
Oman, I wouldn't be able to rate it in that clarity. Do you hear me?
We have really problems hearing you. I don't know if it would be a
Sorry,
good
Mai, do you hear me?
idea to rebuild the connection or try something out. I don't know if that would make sense, because it's such a pity. We really wish you would be sitting in the middle with us tonight. We're going to try once again. So you were telling about
Yes.
Edinburgh and the cold, rainy weather.
Yes, and I was just saying that I have a child who was very small, and I felt a little bit homesick. So then it was logic to me to work in English in the morning and to write in my own language in the evening, going back to think about the old stories.
And it was very special that the Man Booker International Prize went to an Omani writer. And I think it has drawn a lot of attention to Oman, which has often been neglected in the Arab world. How important is that for you too?
Well, you know, Oman is in the far east of Arab world, and people tend to give attention to countries like Egypt or Lebanon. So it was like a surprise
I think now is the moment to try to reconnect or rebuild the connection. I hope you stay here with us and that the internet god is with us in this very minute. Because we don't want to lose Jokha Alharthi just now. It would be too soon. Now we can see you again and hopefully hear you again. So we just lost the connection. Jokha, you were talking about
Sorry.
Oman being neglected. Yeah, would it be possible to just have her voice? It's a good idea, I think, sometimes, so that we can hear her. That would be better than having nothing at all. Genau. So maybe we just have the sound without the picture.
Yeah, do you see me?
We don't see, but we can hear you, and that's a
I
lot.
see you perfect.
Oh, now we can see you again.
Okay.
So you were talking
Okay.
about the importance of looking at your country, which has often been neglected.
Yes, because Lebanon literature. So it's good to look at Gulf countries, and Oman now have many great. I'm, I'm with you.
So we really have problems listening to you. We have a really bad connection right at the moment.
Sorry. I will try.
Maybe we can just try to have her voice without having the image, please. Because usually that really helps. because I think understanding her is even more important than seeing her. We really want to hear her. So please just give us the voice. I'm gonna ask her, yeah.
Okay.
Jokha, are you there?
Yes, I can, of course.
Yeah, wonderful. We can hear
Yes,
you.
I'm here.
Wonderful. So
Yes.
you describe the enormous historical changes in your book that took place between 1920 and 1990, during which the Sultanate really transformed itself. But your novel avoids one thing, and that's chronology. It really shifts perspectives and timelines. What does this non-linear structure allow you to show about identity, about heritage, about social change in Oman?
Yeah, I think that this is the way that I think. I can't think. It's the way that my mind works, like in this linear and non-linear way, and uh, having that structure allow me to think about narratives from different perspectives, and also uh, when I think about time, I can't think about it like something from this point to other point. I always think about time like something mixing, could stop, could continue, and also I think that the past is open to possibilities, not just the future, and that's important. So yeah, I like to write this way. Even my other novels like Narinja or Silken Ghazals are the same way. It's like a mosaic, and the reader has something to do in this. I trust my reader. I want him to be part, engaging in the reading and thinking about the novel while reading it.
Yeah, it's really you really get into the book and you discover so many different things at the same time. There's
Can you hear me?
an elderly man who still calls for his slave, even though
Sorry.
slavery has long been abolished. There are supernatural jinns that play a role, as does witchcraft. Well, on the other hand, there's a need for video games and BMWs are needed. So how difficult was it for you to find this form to capture this amalgam of modernity and tradition that's in your book?
I don't think that it was difficult. You know, we live this every every day. It's amazing how fast things change in Oman. And as a writer, I just watch and think about it. And when a society comes to modernity so fast, we need then to think about what we should keep of our tradition and what we can let go. So it's interesting for me, and the new generation is completely different from their parents, from their grandparents, and sometimes there is no ground to understand each other. So it's something needs to be. For me, I need to write about it in order to understand also.
So I think maybe we planned originally a reading part with you, but I think we're gonna let go that part because it's It's too difficult to listen, I guess. We're just going to keep on talking, but we're going to talk about this book. You were to read one of the parts, the Maya, one of the three sisters. She's the eldest one, and she is in love with a man, but she's not marrying this man. She's marrying a different man. Let's take this character of Maya. What does she mean to you?
I think Maya represents many women at her time, and also she is the eldest, and she carries more responsibilities than the other girls, like than her sisters. Being the first one, it's like she has to obey her parents, while Khawla, the youngest, didn't feel that obligation to obey her parents, and she stands for her. Um, so Maya is in character because she chose used to study there, and that
So, Jokha,
you know
we have an
reconnecting
interruption there again, and we couldn't really understand
her
what you were
past.
saying. I'm going to try again. So you were just saying that she's the oldest one, the eldest of the three sisters, and she has to obey. Maybe you could pick up there.
Yes, she has to obey because that's what is expected in traditional family from the eldest, whether son or daughter. But for her other sisters, for example, the youngest, Khawla, she doesn't have to do that. She had her own choice and she stands for her choice. And Maya is interesting because she chose to name her daughter London, which is strange name at that society, but it's a gesture of her cleansing of the past,
Because the man she loves,
of her past.
he has been to London, and it's yeah. She expresses her love for the
Yeah,
other man.
he lived there.
So she does not marry that man, but she marries Abdallah,
Through that gesture, you're right.
who is a modern young man who
Right.
commutes between the village and the capital city. He also is an important narrator in the novel. And he also, gives a perspective on a patriarchal society, that it's not only women that suffer from that, but also men. Why was that interesting to you?
Sorry,
Did
Marie.
you understand my question?
I just hear it until you said it's not just women, and then I
Okay.
lost you.
It's not just women that suffer from patriarchy, but also men. It's a burden on them too. We can see this in this Abdallah character. Maybe you could explain why you wanted to show that.
Yeah, I think it's important for me. Marie, I teach at the university. I always mix with girls and boys in certain age, like they are between 18 to 22. And I find out that this system is harsh on everyone, not just on women, because many men also have to obey the system and have to obey their parents no matter what, especially the eldest sons, as Abdullah, and he's the only son, and that makes things much difficult for him. Also, his father was a very abusive person, But at the same time, Abdullah thought that he has to respect this father. So it's very complicated situation for him.
You address taboo topics very openly in your novel. For example, mental disabilities in children, which their parents are ashamed of, and witchcraft, which is still practiced today. How did you, approach the depiction of those topics, like slavery, like family taboos, like, the transformation of tradition in contemporary Oman?
You know, there is a scholar in classical Arabic literature called al-Asfahani, I think from the 10th century. And he said, من ألف فقد استهدف. The one who writes became a target. So a target for criticism and even harsh criticism. I think the only way is to be brave and to believe that literature is the best platform to discuss sensitive issues, and we shouldn't shy away from such issues because it's part of us, of our history, of our society. And I think it's we don't try to scream in writing. For me, I don't try to scream. I just want to think through writing and to touches things that I am thinking of, like these things. I have met former slaves. I have listened to their stories, and uh, uh, it's very important for me to. Marie,
Yeah, I
do you
think,
hear me?
we hear you, and I
Marie?
think we're going to open up the conversation with
Yeah.
Geetanjali Shree so that the two of you can hopefully speak to each other for a bit as well. You have at least one important thing in common. You are both pioneers because you are the first authors to write in Hindi and Arabic, respectively, and to win the Man Booker International Prize in those languages. What does this achievement mean to you, and what does it mean for literature? Maybe you could start.
Well, I had nothing to do with this choice. It was luck which fell on me. I was, so of course, I'm very happy that it happened. I mean, I always say it's like a constellation of stars, you know, that everything has to be correct at that moment, you know, and if it all falls together, then the light falls on you. And for me, I mean, it's at an individual level, it's brought me many wonderful things. It's brought me an expansion of my literary world in a way I could never have imagined. You know, I'm in Berlin Literature Festival and many others, and you know, the world has opened up, and I've got to know that many more writers and readers, and there are that many more conversations possible, that many more translations possible. So at an individual level, it's all that. But I think something else is also happening through me, which, of course, I feel very good about. But like I said, it's nothing to do, nothing that I've done. You know, I just wrote quietly, and I'm glad that the light fell on me. But you know, when the light falls on you, it actually picks up your piece of earth. You know, that piece of earth which has nourished you and made you possible, and you're not alone there. So it actually lights up many people around you. And I think that is what has happened in the case of Jokha also. You know, the people have discovered, people outside Oman have discovered that there is a whole rich literature coming out of Oman, and people outside India have discovered that there's a whole rich literature coming out of India. And they sometimes say to me, that do you think, I mean, someone asked me recently, they said, do you think, you know, another Indian got the book this year? So he said, now do you think Indian literature in non-English has come of age? I said, no, I think the readers outside India have come of age. And they, yeah, and they have realized, they've realized, you know, how much there is that they did not know. I mean, yeah, and there's all this literature which has
They're
been
awake
going on
now.
there. Yeah, that's right.
Because people could have told you, you could have written in English because because you know the English language from when you were a child. But you said, I want to write in Hindi, and people could have said, oh, then your chances won't be that big to win such a prize one day.
Oh, well, that is right. And I mean, again, you know, this is something which somebody sent me a clipping a few years later, I mean, after the Booker, and I didn't know, I didn't remember this had happened. I didn't even know really. I mean, of course, I never imagined that I was going to get the Booker. It didn't figure in my world. And someone asked me, you know, why I wrote in Hindi when I speak English, when I've been educated in English, and English has such a, you know, much larger reach, and I could have done that. So I said that, you know, I mean, I don't know what all I said, but basically the thrust must have been that, you know, Hindi is very close to my bones, and when you're expressing yourself so intimately, then you speak in the language which is so intimate to you, and it is my mother tongue, and I just write in that, and I'm happy, you know, to belong to the Hindi world. And what won't I get? I won't get the Booker, I said. So somebody sent me this clipping. You know?
It's great.
Yeah, you never know how things happen and where they go.
Yeah. Jokha, I hope that you could listen to us because
Yes, yes.
Your book also has a very poetic language, and there are a lot of poems integrated in your novel. So you really show us how rich it is, the literature. How did it feel to you to win this prize and to have this attention?
Yeah. First of all, I want to say that I think that Indian literature is great.
Grey or great?
I mean,
Sorry.
I have been reading it since I started.
I think she meant great. I'm quite sure of that. Jokha, we already...
Intimate act. It's... yes. Yes.
I think we're
Sorry,
talking about such
I
a
can't
large
hear
country
you.
and so many languages, so it has to
Marie?
have, you know, sort of all kinds of vibrant things going on there.
Yeah, I think...
And long lineages.
And
you
you
know
know what?
what?
Both of your novels
Yes.
work with fragments, and so this is what this evening is about, maybe. This is a challenge,
Yeah,
you know?
certainly
That's
fragments.
just fragments.
Beautiful
We're very
fragments,
sorry,
nonetheless,
but
Jokha.
it's the form of the books, so we had to do it. I hope you understand.
Yeah.
So, Jokha,
Yes.
I hope you can still
Can
hear...
I say something?
Yes.
Yeah, I hear you perfectly. Yes, so I just wanted to say that many readers all over the world find something in my works that speaks to them. It's just profoundly moving that my words carries into 26 languages, so people from different cultures, different backgrounds could relate to them.
Yeah, that's what I was just talking about with Geetanjali Shree, that it's important also that both of your books, they really are relatable for a global audience. Was that something that you had in mind when you were writing, Jokha?
I just write because I needed to write it. I just thought of Arabic reader, and I did languages. But I think it's important, especially now, to read translated literature, Marie.
To
Are you
retranslate.
still with me?
Yeah, we hear you. You just said it's important
Yes,
to
to read
retranslate.
translated literature.
Why is it so important?
Yes, translated literature. It's very important because it's one of the channel that we could understand each other through it. And in this world where there's a lot of biases, it's very important that we read narratives from people who are, like people in Gaza now, they are subject of genocide and ethnical cleansing. So it's important to read Palestinian literature, to see through their eyes and to hear through their ears, and to understand their world.
I hope that you heard that the
So
audience was reacting.
Yeah, and I think it's very important. We read Mahmoud Darwish poetry, Adaniya Shibli novel, Ghassan Kanafani short stories. So we see that these people are humans. They have dreams like we have. They have hopes, and these mothers don't love their children less than we love our children. So they deserve to be listened to and to be read and to be heard. Thank you.
So maybe translation and reading books and novels that come from other parts of the world is an important task today for us to understand each other better. Do you want to add something to that, Geetanjali Shree?
Not really add, but I mean, I think, first of all, I mean, when you asked, I don't know what you asked, but she said that she writes just for the Omani audience. I think there's not the great divide between local and global that we often assume, and local is global. That's one thing. But
Right, I agree.
But I also think that, we've always seen, that literature from anywhere good literature from anywhere makes sense anywhere else. So there is always, something there in literature which connects humanity, and it's conversation, it's dialogue, and it's absolutely the best way, to bring people together.
Yeah, and it really connects different times and different places, literature, in a much better way sometimes than technology does, unfortunately.
I certainly think so.
And that's why it's important to read the books, and to read the books we were talking about tonight, because then you will really understand why that relates to us and what that has to do with us even today. So thank you so much, the both of you, for opening up about your writing, about your thinking. It was very good talking to the both of you, and thank you so much for being here tonight, for being so patient. I think almost nobody left the room, and I think that's so, we're really thankful for that you stayed with us. And take care, keep on reading, keep on building bridges through reading. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mary, and thank you for the audience.